Okay. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead okay, to begin with, I want to say peace be with you. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Hotep. Uh, and, those great words in whatever formality that you are accustomed to seeing this. A little under the weather, so if I have the sniffles going on, that's the reason why. So, this evening, I know that some of you are probably sitting at home looking at your new uh, PlayStation 5 or whatever gifts for those of you that partake in the Western setup of what they call Christmas or Xmas or whatever you have. But tonight I wanted to go on a bit of a journey, a bit of a narration of a sort. And before I start that off, I just want to cite this little line from the Tao, right? If you ever heard of this is called the Tao Te Ching. It's just an ancient East Asian uh, sage that I'm going to quote here, just to start this off. It says, "Trustworthy words are not beautiful. Beautiful words are not trustworthy. The knower does not know everything. The know-it-all knows nothing. Kindness is not overindulgence. Overindulgence is not kind. The sage does not collect. As soon as he exists for others, he has more. As soon as he gives to others, he has more. So the Tao of the heavens benefits and does not harm. The Tao of humankind exists and does not compete." Okay, I figured that'd be a good thing to set this particular subject matter off with. The subject matter, or the title, if you will, of this is "The Origin of Soul Journey of Life, the Light Dome." I want to talk about how this began in my life, because that's the the starting point for me regarding Soul Journey of Life. 5 years ago, or not 5 years ago, but at a time when I was 5, I experienced a moment in my life that obviously I would never be able to forget. That moment was the death of my father. And my father played such an important role in my life, even for the 5 years that I knew him. For the first 5 years of my being, my father played such an important role because I saw everything he did while he was in my presence and never forgot those things. So, of those things, for example, I noticed him mostly, he would be fixing things, repairing things. He bought my brother and I a big wheel. We each had our own big wheel. I had a Dukes of Hazzard big wheel, and my brother, who's 2 years younger than I, he had a Knight Rider big wheel. And we were so excited about that. We watched my father, put those big wheels together. He almost forgot to he did forget to put the brake on my brother's big wheel, but he, went ahead and fixed that, resolved that. And so we're riding around. I was so excited that they found me riding the big wheel in the middle of the street, street with cars and traffic, because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. So they went ahead and grabbed me up, put me off to the side, let me know, where we're supposed to use those. Like I said, I was about at that time think I was about maybe 4 years old. And, my father had been through a lot. One of the things, that I could say about my father, and this is all leading on to the origin of Soul Journey of Life, because the key word is Soul Journey of Life. Think about that while I'm telling you these events, these memories. My father was my hero because I saw the bravest person, that I ever met in my life was my father. He encountered, conflict after conflict, both within the family and outside of the family. There was even a time where he had a confrontation, a physical confrontation with the police officers. And in those days, it was a bit different. It was still oppression and whatnot going on, but it was a bit different. Sometimes the police would feel froggy and say, "Okay, let me take off my badge and da 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 da. Let's do this thing." And that was one of those times. And that particular officer, had to regret doing that because my father, he knew how to work. So, he didn't get really in too much trouble or whatnot, but he did get to get those licks off. And, I remember seeing that. I remember him telling us to go over there, go on the other side of the street, with our mom. So we went over there to the other side of the street while he did his thing. Anyway, I always remember, my father in a heroic fashion, and he was a little aggressive. He was a little, uh, you know, sometimes he let things get under his skin or whatnot, but he always stood his ground. He always stood for what he was focused on, and this is going to tie me to my first experience or my first dream. And it's going to sound a little silly, but my first dream that I can remember, that is, was me waking up within the dream to the presence of a squirrel climbing on my stomach. And when you think of a squirrel climbing on your stomach, you don't really think too much about it. Now, mind you, I'm about 3 or 4 years old when this is happening. So, even still, I'm looking at this squirrel like, okay, what are you going to do? What's happening here? So I looked at the squirrel, and the minute I looked at this squirrel, I get punched in the stomach. His little paw blows up into a fist and punches me in the stomach. Now, I wasn't scared of the squirrel at first, but when I saw this, it shocked me like crazy. I'm looking at this situation. I cry my lungs out and everything, right? My father comes rushing into the room, grabs me up, takes me into the living room, sits me on his lap, and brings in a can of like mixed fruit or something like that. Starts feeding me the mixed fruit, and that was like an experience that I would never forget. And you have to understand, especially you fathers out there, that every little detail, you don't know which one of those pinpoint details your child, your son, your daughter is going to take and hold on for the rest of their life and never forget. Even if you were to leave today, they still hold on to that memory. They still hold on to it. You don't know which one that is. So, my advice is to take honor in that and take a position in that. So that way your child has something valuable to hold on to, and they see you as their Superman, not some comic book character, but you, their father. So, this was my Superman, my own father, because I saw him do things that I didn't see other people doing. I didn't see other people getting into it with the police, with the cops, and winning as a result. I didn't see other people involved in fixing things and putting together things. He took a stove, an old broke down stove, didn't even work. Got the parts, fixed the parts, put the parts in there, got it fixed up, and that was our stove. Because before then, we didn't even have a stove. So, I watched all this stuff go down and had a great respect for my father. I even saw him take down people who were trying to do us wrong, me and my brother. He took them down. So that's the story about my father, and that's the earliest, that I can remember. That the second visionary moment that I had was after my father passed away. And I can remember being in we were in the waiting or the church or whatever, and people were saying that, oh, your father, he went to heaven. He went to heaven. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, let's go get him. And what are we waiting for? Why are we here? Why don't we go down there and pick him up? They said, oh no, you don't get it. You don't understand. And somebody gave me a piece of candy, like a peppermint or something. And from that, when I was a little child, from that point on, as a little child, that is, I used to think that every old woman had peppermint in her purse because of that experience. Anyway, I saw my father in the casket over there, and my mother's over there crying, sitting there crying in the front row. So I go up and check out my father. I see him laying there, and I'm looking, I'm thinking to myself, something's not right about my father. I touch his wrist, I can feel his wrist and everything. It don't feel like it normally does. It feels a little stiff. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with my father? Why is he laying there? Why isn't he opening his eyes? And why do these people keep telling me he went to heaven? And I can see him right here in this casket. So, of course, just tons and tons of confusion. Then they want to tell me we got to go home. And I'm trying to figure out, well, why are we going home and my father isn't coming with us? So that had a tremendous, tremendous impact on how I operated in life and how I dealt with those first few years. Because you couldn't even really speak to me about too much without not somehow speaking about my father in the process. And so there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of agony, and as I will put it, pain that nobody sees. And that's what I mean by that, because it's a pain that nobody knows the suffering that you're going through. Nobody knows it because they don't know what you've been through. They don't know your experiences, and they don't know how you're taking them in your thoughts, in your inner being, how you're holding on to them or letting go of them, depending on what you're doing with the feelings. So I had a dream one night that my father came down. I saw him descend from the sky and came down, and he took me to like a restaurant place. And we sat there and he talked to me about things. I don't remember the things he talked about, but I just remember his presence and him being there. And he seemed to be happy. He seemed to be like relaxed. And, it relaxed me. And so from that point on, I was able to be sort of content with the fact that my father wasn't going to be around this realm as I know it or as I knew it then anymore. And from that point on, I had never had another dream about my father or having my father involved in it until recently. And the irony of that is that other dream, the dream that I had was just a moment before when our good General Grandmaster Jay shows up on the scene, at least in my radar, right? Now, I just wanted to put that because that just popped in my mind just now. I just realized how that the timing of that. But that's another matter. So I didn't have another dream with my father in it all the way up until that point. So this was the beginning for me of Soul Journey of Life, because at that point, when my father came, visited me, left, I knew that something was different about what I was existing in. I knew that my life was going to be a unique experience. And believe you me, it was. I don't have the time to go here through all the details of that uniqueness, but to stay on the track of the elements that have to do with Soul Journey of Life's origin, um, it continues on. And before I continue on, I just want to put some little details out there. I know there's a lot of people, that we many of us are strongly strongly supportive of NFAC and, of course, the leader, Grandmaster Jay. Many of us are strongly supportive of the efforts in the movement. And so, I know there's people that want to feel like they need to put themselves in the position to speak on the behalf or say something um, in continuation of, or whatever you want to call it. But I don't think that's necessary. Why do I say that? Because, one, not just because Grandmaster Jay, is known to have said that, nobody speaks for the NFAC but Grandmaster Jay. And that's self-explanatory. There's no need for further interpretation of that. Um, and of course, the NFAC themselves, they have their orders to adhere to, the protocol that's laid down there. So that's a situation all of itself. And historically, a lot of times when um, the battle is won, the person who led that battle ends up being your authoritative figure anyway. So that's something we have to consider, especially if we're trying to become a thriving, independent nation. We have to be willing to accept authority. We have to be willing to unite under a common banner and defend that and stand for that and live for that. You can't just say, well, today I feel this way or that way. I don't like you today, so I'm going to go ahead and abandon ship. And then a couple of weeks later, oh, I'm coming back. You can't do that. When you're for something, you're for something through thick, through thin, just like marriage or something. Through to death do you part. So um, that's what I have to say about that matter. That this what I'm doing here, what I'm speaking about here, because I do believe that the the spiritual journey for all of us continues, and we have to have this spark, this inspiration that keeps us motivated, because that's what keeps the machine, the mechanics operating. So there are think tanks that develop. There are inspirational groups of people that develop. That's why these things are coalitions. That's why there's allies, there's support systems, there's all kinds of elements involved that help make a body of people, a nation, rise up and strong, because you have all of these parts. So continue on. Later in my life, I went through various different experiences and lived in various different places and whatnot, different homes, different types of people that weren't my parents. And, I let them know, even as a child, that no, you're not my parent. I'm gonna call you Mr. So and so or Mrs. So and so, but I'm not calling you mother or father, because you're not them. And while I was living at a certain place, I had a dream. And in that dream, I'm asking, and I use the word Allah, because that's a word, a verbiage that I'm familiar with and identify with. Um, and I said, "Oh Allah, show me a sign." I said, "Show me a sign." And I was like, kind of like in tears, or like in like a very uh, sincere state. You know, uh, that was it was emotional, it was spiritual, it was just very deep feeling that I was going through, very deep status I was going through when I said these words. And when I said, "Show me a sign," I was shown, or I looked and I saw a lotus blossom floating on top of like a pond, and it was during the night. I could see the moonlight reflecting off of the pond. I could see, all the light glistening from the water. Um, and so there was the lotus blossom there, and I'm looking at this lotus blossom, kind of like, like, well, what's the deal with this? And I wasn't able to really deal with that until later on, some years later, where I even had to do some scholastic research. Where does the lotus blossom play in? I ended up learning some things about ancient Kemet, in regards to the lotus. For example, the ancient secret, the flower of life, um, things of that nature. Just a lot of things opened up from that, just from that particular dream in itself. And I had then see a series of dreams took place. So I'm trying to break down this series that all lead up to the meaning of soul journey of life as it means to me. And then later I had a dream, a vision, and that's what I mean by when I'm saying dreams, because I'm not just talking about something where you just sleep and maybe you ate too much or whatnot, and you see these delusionments. But I'm talking about when even though you're at rest, you're still awake, and when you see something, you see it just as clear as you would see something during the day. So another dream that had water in it, where I saw water glistening, and in this time I saw that I had some pages, some papers, and I put them in this water, took them out of the water, and the pages were like smooth and clean. It was like the pages weren't even damaged or anything. And I can't recall the words or that there were words on it, but there were words on it prior to the pages going into the water. And so I had these pages, and that, of course, stood out to me as something essential to deal with and to reflect upon. So then, following, I had yet another vision. And in this vision, there was a plate that I had. And on the plate, like a little saucer, a little dish, on the plate, the saucer, I had a fruit that was like either a grapefruit or an orange or some type of citrus fruit of a sort. And I looked at it and I said, And it came to me the thought to put it under my bed. Why did I want to put it under the bed? But that's where I put it. Then I went and it felt like maybe some time had moved forward, and I came back to the bed and I reached out from under the bed to grab that plate that I put under there with the fruit on it. And this time when I took it out, the plate and the fruit had a plant growing out of it with enormous leaves, like elephant sized ears of leaves growing out of the fruit where the fruit was on the plate. So that, of course, made me, look like, okay. So I took the plate. There's this loft. I climb up the loft, and on top of the platform of the loft area, there's boxes stacked on top of each other. So I put the plate with the fruit and the plant on top of the box, and that was that. Um, so then, I had several other elements of dreams that I feel were connected with that because they had plants and whatnot involved and growth and fruits going on. Sometimes I would eat them or whatnot. Um, so then days go on, time moves forward, and I have this dream where as I'm moving around, I come across a person who's asking me, what level am I on? This person is dressed in like a hijab and, you know, looks very um, patient and like as if she contains some type of wisdom. And she asked me, what level am I on? And to me, when I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, is she asking me, am I making salat or am I, on my deen or something like that? So I'm like, well, I'm on my level. I'm on a good level. And the way she asked me again was like, I didn't give her the answer that was expected. So she asked me again, and that kind of took me off guard. In the distance, I heard the adhan being called in like a very low octave. And so I thought about that. So continuing on, I carried on and I come to a point where I see a scene where there's three people. There's a woman in the middle who's very, very dark complected, and two on the right. All of them are wearing hijab. And it's the one in the middle that took me of particular interest, because she not only was she very beautiful, but she was slender. She had a long neck. She was dark skinned, and she had these very pretty eyes. And she seemed very devout, loyal, devout, patient, and they were coming up as if they were in like a state of prayer. Like, when we make the salat, we come into this position called the qiyam, the sitting position, right? So they were in this sitting position, and they were sitting like they were making the supplication, a dua, right? So I looked at that, and I wanted to say something to the sister. And to be honest with you, later on in my life, I did say something, and that particular sister ended up becoming my wife to this day. So that was that dream. And I'm narrating these dreams because you'll come to know that these dreams, I ended up learning later on, were portents. Portents. Like they were projections of moments that hadn't arrived yet, or elements or tools that I needed to obtain for certain aspects of my life. So continuing on, I'm walking down off a path, and I was just talking about people, in hypocrisy and whatnot, and people, not, being, authentic. And I see this like reverend over in a crowd of people talking and preaching and whatnot, doing all this preaching and hollering, and he's got a wine bottle in his hand, and he's just sitting there talking. And I'm thinking, well, how's he going to be preaching? And he's got that wine bottle in his hand. What kind of preaching is he doing over there? And he's drunk. But it was as if he looked at me and saw me, and right in the eyes, and he tossed me the bottle. So I grabbed the bottle, kind of like instinctively, like grab the bottle, and I'm thinking to myself, not only did I grab the bottle, but why did I grab the bottle? And I have the bottle. Is something being said here? Did I prejudge this person? Did I say something about this person without really knowing all the details? Because now I have the bottle. But why do I have the bottle? And I was just thinking some kind of off thing about this person. So anyway, I carry on. I end up at like they got these Arab corner stores, right? And sometimes the corner stores have like a little side where they eat, and they have like a sort of a restaurant type thing. And I go in there, and they gave me a bowl of soup, and I'm looking in this bowl of soup, and the content starts to move around like it's its own, like it's living, like it's living. And of course, I haven't been in a habit of eating living soup. So I kind of looked at that like, okay, we won't be eating this. So I put it down, and I carry on. And no, I didn't put that down. My pardon. I carry it, and there's a building where there are these people who are praying, and some of them, they look like they're poor. They look like they're um, impoverished or whatnot, and they're old. So I pass on the bowl to one of them, and I carry on. It was at about somewhere around this where there's a bus that comes. I hop on the bus, and I get on the bus, and we're driving for a little while, and I look around all around the bus, and I see nobody's in the bus but me and the driver. So I'm looking at the driver, and I'm asking him, I'm thinking like, oh, how long do we got? What's going on? Why is nobody here? Doesn't say anything to me. And then eventually he gets to a point where he looks back and says to me, there's going to be a rough ride ahead. And the minute that he says that, I look in front of the road, and I see it squiggling like an S, like this, like an S shape. And the road, we keep on going on the road. It's bumpy, it's right, it's kind of rough. And we're driving down, he's just going. And finally, he gets around a curve, like a sharp turn, and he backs up, and he parks with part of the bus on the road and part of the bus on top of a tall tree. And he says, oh, well, this is a good place to stop. This is a good place for us to stop and get some rest. So I'm kind of confused, because I said, well, why would you stop with half of the bus on the road and half of the bus on the street. And we were just at a part where the road was getting ready to curve around. Like it was making a very sharp turn, right? So I'm like, wow. So I get off of the bus and I start walking, along the path, and the path makes a sharp turn, and it starts to go into a center of an area. In the center of the area, the area itself looked like something that you'd see in like an ancient Olmec scene or an ancient Aztec scene. And I'm looking at this whole scene, and it has all these carvings and designs. It's a square area, in a round area. In the middle of the area is this young child, and the child, I see him there. He's smiling at me and everything, and you know, at first I think of like hiding somewhere because I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to, anybody being upset that if I'm disturbing something. So the child smiles, and I just think to call the Adon. For whatever the reason, I call the Adon. And for those that may not know, the Adhan is, the call to prayer that you hear coming from masjids, when they say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. That's the Adhan. So I call the Adhan, and for some reason I had a rough time when I came to the part where you say Hayya ala Salah. It's like every time I was saying that, it broke up, and everything else was like beautifully recited. And the child smiled, and the minute that I recited this to the child and the child smiled, I could hear in the surrounding as if people were like the people who were in the village or whatever village this was, they were starting to come. They were starting to come. I didn't necessarily see the people coming, but I could hear them coming. So that took place there. Now, what I just described to you is the shape of the symbol of soul journey of life. If you look at the symbol of soul journey of life, you see that the road starts to take a curve, and it goes off into the horizon. Then it makes a sharp turn, and it makes a sharp turn, and then it stops. And you see it appearing to go into the sunset or to go into the eye. So this is the symbol. And this particular symbol of Soul Journey of Life is what I call the light dome. That's the name of the symbol, the light dome. And the light dome is the objective or the goal of the road. The whole symbol itself is the key, or represents the key to that dome. Excuse me. So a lot of heavy elements, pan out from this that I can't break them all down right now because a lot of it's a whole another story all in and of itself. So from that point, I, was always, a person who, read a lot. I, read a lot of material, a lot of books, but it was at that point where a lot of what I had been reading either started to connect or needed more verification, or I started to become distant from, depending on the impact that the type of readings I was doing was having to me. I mean, books that started to play an important role in my study at that time, like the Metu Neter, like writings from Browder. Um, I mean, of course, and I had been reading the Quran, but I'm talking about, books on mathematics, numerology. A lot of material started to flood my way at that particular time. And now, prior to that, many of you may not know, but as a teenager, I was heavily involved in hip hop. And, you know, we were always, me and my friends, when I'm saying we, that were, grouped together, we were always about like, hey, we're going to go platinum. We're going to drop this song. We're going to do this and do that. And this was the vibe we had. And we were always um, adamant about conscious rap, conscious hip hop, I should say. And we even, I mean, that was what I mean, our hangout spots was the library for the most part. When we go there, we would be, getting, taking stuff in that would be essential to our lyrics. We'd go back at it back and forth. There was a mall in City Center called City Center in Columbus, downtown Columbus, Ohio. That used to be another gathering spot. We'd go there, battle rap, flow against other cats coming in the scene, and we had a tiny reputation going on. We felt like we were doing something. We're somebody now, because some people were hearing us rhyme and win, a significant number of times. The name of our group at that time was called Choices Unlimited. You know, my hip hop alias, which is still my hip hop alias to this very day, Questman, aka Chaotic Cause the Ruckus, and my partner was Ragged Man Damn One. And we were like the main elements of that group called Choices Unlimited. Now, time, a lot of time has gone on since all then, and some of the friends that we had, they passed away. One passed away from diabetes. Some, ended up moving or going, just a lot of different things happened in their life. Some went to jail, prison. A lot of, just, powerful moments happening. Our lives changed. Our lives changed. I mean, me myself, I've traveled. I've been to Africa. I've done things. I didn't just sit, in one spot. But as time carried on, some elements came to me that I always will remember. Like, for example, I had a friend who was one of our members. His name was Jamie Oyo. Jamie used to say, never stop writing. Never stop writing. This was like our oath to our hip hop group. Never stop the flow. Never stop writing, he would say. And, I always used to give my word, said that we would never stop writing. And in those days, when you said word is bond, you meant that, it's kind of like you were signing your signature. You know what I mean? You had to live by your words. I know nowadays people can say anything and then change their mind and flip the script or whatever. But in those days, if you said word is bond, you were held to that. You were held to that. Um, so now I did pause for a little bit. I did pause, but not because I was uh, trying to stop the flow, but rather I was going through phases in my life where there was elevation going on, reformation going on. I met a brother who who gave who who gave me a sharp turn in a spiritual direction. His name was New, and it was at the point. The reason why I say this brother had a significant impact is because up until that point, I was overly confident, just like the passage that I read to you at the beginning of this talk. And I'll try to record this or keep it recorded or whatever. Just go back to the beginning. Hear what I said at the beginning. I thought I was that person that knew that that had that was I felt like I could win any debate. I could I knew I was confident. I was like just that confident. And I was at the point where I felt that nobody could challenge the square that I was on. Nobody could challenge my perspective. And I was a Muslim then. I carry that uh, essential identity to this day, just not in the same way as I did in those days. In those days, it was a very, like you call it, an orthodox way, or very, I don't even say orthodox, but a very secularized way. Where you just kind of live in this little box, and if you're not this and you're not this, then you're not on the same team or something like that. It was a different idea. Now things are more essential. They're more there's meaning, there's deeper meaning, deeper levels to things. You can't just take one word and run. So anyway, he brought some things to my attention. He said some things that I didn't hear said in those ways ever in my life. And so it even got to the point where when I would be by myself, it put tears to my eyes because of how heavy, it came to me, how heavy these things came to me. This was just conversation going on. I can't break down everything that was said, but just the way, if you could just imagine hearing something for the first time in your life that makes you think about everything that you've ever thought you knew, that you ever felt you were confident about, it makes you question everything. Now, the irony is that I had already went through something like that, growing up with in the life of Christianity. You understand? I already went through all that, breaking the yoke of all these indoctrinations that I was going through. So I was at a point where I felt like, okay, I've already defeated the falsehood. Now I'm confident because I'm on hock, as we would say. I'm on the hock, right? And which means I'm saying I'm on the truth. But no, it wasn't that I was on or not on the truth, but there was just some perspectives, aim that things that I wasn't aware of, that in that way, that once it was said this way, it made me rethink everything and question everything. Question sources, who said it, why I said, question not just the sources, but question my own self. It made me question my own self. So, and it got to the point where I was torn up inside for like almost a good year. And I didn't want to say nothing to nobody. A lot of people, when they get torn up inside, it's because, somebody broke up with them or they lost their job or whatever. I wasn't torn up because I lost a job, or I was torn up because there was a spiritual disconnect. There was a disconnect that just happened. And it happened because of the conversation with the brother Newton. His name means consciousness, by the way. And I say that for a factor that this was the person that caused, that was the tool, I should say, that caused this event to happen in my life. And the person was so impactful that my own son has been given the same name. So, the thing I got out of that, the thing that I got out of that, is that this ultimate one, the supreme being, we say Allah, we say Yahweh, we say, all these different terms. But it makes me recall the statement, he speaks with a voice of many waters. It makes me think about, when I read in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna is talking to Krishna about, having Krishna manifest, and Krishna manifest, and wherever Arjuna would look, he saw thousands and thousands of faces, and thousands of eyes, and thousands of mouths or whatever, and all of these things, started to stand out to me more. It got to the point where, when a person who read the Bible came to me, that I couldn't say he was right or wrong. Or a person who came with the Quran to me, I couldn't say that he was right or wrong. Or a person who came with any doctrine, I was now in a position where I was neutral in the absolute sense that a human could possibly be, manifesting the breath of the divine, right? So it was like that. It was so heavy. It was so very heavy. And then I started to listen to everybody's words, even their miscalculations. And when I could hear their miscalculations, I could see the way the calculation could be corrected. I didn't need to tell them that. It was for a need to know. It was for me, right? It was an experience that I gathered for myself. And so, I started to when I would see things such as the flower of life or any type of geometrical shape or any type of angles or colors or any of the bodies in the cosmos, everything started to have a whole different way in which I could look at it. Where even my own presence, I could zoom out and zoom out and zoom out and see my presence there getting smaller, smaller, and smaller, and then look around and see all kinds of, event. When you're in that level of the cosmos, that's what they call the different areas or components. They call them events, right? So this is the story of Soul Journey of Life. Now, I'm going to tell you the small version of it, or the small aspect of it. Because the physical aspect as a business, in the commercial sense, the physical aspect was a shop that I had opened up way back in 2011. I wanted to do something. I wanted to operate in my own capacity because I knew that working for the man wasn't the plan for me, right? And at least that's how I felt. So I said, I need to do something, my own thing. And I'm asking myself, well, what would I do? I don't want to do something that would be destructive to somebody else, and then I would feel accountable to that. So I said I want to do something that's supporting the cause, especially the cause of our people. So it was a shop that was selling organic products like natural cookies with natural ingredients. Even soda had natural cane sugar and things of that nature. I had teas. I had all this kind of stuff going on from natural ingredients and stuff being sold there. Oils, creams, butters, and all this was motivated to me by an elder sister who, when I came back to Columbus, Ohio, this was one of the first people that I saw, and she pointed out to me a masjid that was nearby, and I looked over at it, and I said, okay, I'll go ahead, I'll check it out. I ended up checking it out, and they hear me call the adhan. They allow me to call the adhan. They like the way I called the adhan. So they asked me, well, do you know how to give a khutbah? Can you give a khutbah? I said, yeah, I can. I've given khutbahs before, and but not in the capacity of leadership. I didn't give a khutbah in the capacity of leading something. So at this time, that's when this happened. So I started, they put me in a position as an imam at that time. And so uh, all this was mainly encouraged because the elder sister, who became like a grandmother to me later on, she passed away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. From God we come, to God we return. Um, and I had a great respect and honor for her because she was adamant in the movement for Black people. She was adamant in trying to, elevate our Black, our as we would say sometimes in those days, African American masjid, right? So she passed away, and with her, a lot of the motivation that some of the people had went. But as with me, I always feel like I'm obligated to carry these banners, and it's not that it's someone else's banner, but I feel like these people were elements of inspiration to me, and that's the banner that I'm carrying is what they inspired. And so she had a heavy inspiration. So we had a shop. She had a shop right next door. That's what influenced me to get the shop. This was it was like a complex that had a variety of shops in it. So her shop was next door over. She was selling like fragrances and oils and things like that. And as you know, I was selling all the natural organic products. So I got my sign, I got the copyrights, I got the patents for the logo and all that kind of stuff going on. I was very excited. I was happy about, owning my own shop. I took pictures, invited my mother there and my brothers and had them buy some stuff, gave them some stuff for free. I was excited. I was like, I finally got my own shop. And for a little while, I was making a little profit, It wasn't nothing. I wasn't, doing anything supersized or nothing like that. But I felt like I was achieving something, and that went on until the owner of the complex the rent, increased the rent for the building. And at that point, the rent was increased so high that I wasn't able to cover the expenses, let alone make a profit. So I had to close up the shop. Took my sign down. Let's see, I got that sign around here somewhere. Uh, I think I've got that sign on the website group. So just check out the website group, uh, the website, and you'll see the sign, the picture in there. Anyway, I had that sign. I kept it kind of like as a for memory, and as a symbol that I wouldn't let the saga of Sojourning of Life die. I said somehow, some way, I will revive what Soul Journey of Life means, or what it means to me, and hopefully that I could utilize this as some type of tool to inspire other people. Just like my Soul Journey of Life inspired me, to never give up, to never quit, to not involve myself in doubtful matters, to not think I know everything, to not hate on other people, that haven't warranted hate, and to identify who the enemy, the adversary is, and know that, and not be in doubt, not be spooktified or anything like that. Um, a lot of things came out of what this whole journey means to me, and it's still going. I'm even dealing with the challenge now, because here I created the social media platform, Conscious Social Media, and called it the same name as my small business. I carried it on, and this is when I finally brought back. What happened is that I was sitting one day, and like I said, I had been thinking about this for some time. How am I going to revive Soul Journey of Life? Am I going to open up another shop? Am I going to, one time I even thought to open up a shop next to a friend of mine who was also a friend of the elder. Naima is the sister's name. She passed away. And like I said, she was like a grandmother to me. And one of her friends was a very good brother. He helped me out when I was down. You know, and I have a great respect for him. And he's Palestinian, and so I was thinking, well, I'll model a shop after his. He had like a coffee shop, so I said, well, I'd do something like Eastern coffee, teas, things like that. But you know, I don't say that I'm not going to do that, but the resources for being able to do that haven't provided themselves yet. So I kept thinking, well, how am I going to revive the saga, the story of Soul Journey of Life? And like I came upon, I'm going through Facebook one day, and I'm seeing all these people complain about, well, man, Facebook banned me, and Facebook blocked my post, or they removed my post, or they did this or did that, or they censored something. And I'm thinking, well, why do we have to keep going to these people and depending on them for what we want for ourselves? Why can't we establish something for ourselves? Why don't we have our own social media? And at that time, there wasn't much going on. I know there's later on you end up seeing like melanated people and some other sites that were pretty good, but they weren't the focus that I was interested in, because, like I said, my focus is always spiritually infused. It's not just for me. It's not just about having a bunch of blacks together. It's about having a bunch of conscious blacks together, because as not every skin folk is kinfolk. You understand? Not everybody is on the same page and on the same team. So, for me, a conscious community is the best type of community. So I was saying to myself, well, why don't I use some of my skills in design and graphic designs and stuff like that to create a social media platform. So went about doing that. This was back. Let's see. This is still 2020. So way back in the early, like I think 2019, like about the end of 2019 is when I started the process. Now I already had a website. This the social media platform. You'll notice it says souljourneyoflife.org. But before I had .org, I had Soul Journey of Life, and I still have souljourneyoflife.com. That was the website that I had originally to go in sync with my shop. And so when the shop went down, I kind of paused on souljourneyoflife.com for a while. But later on, I started trying to revive it. I tried to put some shop elements into it and whatnot. But the thing about black folks is, we get spooked a lot too easily sometimes. When you get out of the scene for a while and you come back in, people don't know you anymore. You're in the scene. People are like, oh yeah, Ak, hey Ak, salam alaikum Ak. You leave the scene for a while, you travel around, you come back, nobody knows you anymore. And now we're in a day where everybody. This is how everybody is nowadays. They're like this. So nobody knows you anymore because this is what they're doing. So they don't know you. And when you're trying to communicate, when you're trying to break bread, folks get real uneasy, they get real suspicious and whatnot, get spooked. So it's a new arena for me, a new environment. But I'm always a person that's been adamant I don't give up. Why? Because my superhero, my father, never gave up. I always saw him fixing things until it was fixed and up and working. So I've been at this soul journey of life. I'd look at to see if there was any type of pages that were broken, any broken codes, any broken buttons or anything like that, because I wanted to make sure that Soul Journey of Life functions right. So I ended up, getting a hold of a whole new server to put it on, whole new platform, a whole new everything, and even a whole new domain, souljourneyoflife.org. And I linked them both together. If you go to souljourneyoflife.com now, you'd be able to see, the buttons, a new kind of facelift, new makeover, where it ties to its own domain, and it also goes to souljourneyoflife.org. So you could log into your account from souljourneyoflife.com and still be able to access souljourneyoflife.org. So it's an ongoing thing. I still keep on pushing. I still keep on pushing it. There's times where I see, maybe 3, 4, or 5 people signing up, I connect with them and try to communicate with them, get them on my friend list or whatnot, so they can see how things work. But I mean, it's like we don't want to do anything. It's like we want to see the movie go on, but we don't want to play our part in that movie. You understand? We see the main characters go on, but we just want to sit by and be on the sideline watching. It's like we just don't want, I mean, it's funny because if you go to one of these cave people, one of these beast people, and ask them for something, 9 times out of 10 they'll pull something out of their pocket and give it to you. You go to one of our own, and it's like, why? What do you want it for? What are you going to do? What is this? Why? Why is this like this? I mean, I even was questioned about the protocols for registering with the site, which is the exact same protocols, mind you, as Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And I don't think not one of you, when you signed up with Instagram, you probably didn't even read their policy. You probably clicked on the login with Facebook and carried on and went looking for your friends and everything like that. You didn't ask, why do they want all this information? And to this day, here you are, logged into Instagram, logged into Facebook, logged into your Twitter accounts, logged into your YouTube accounts, and you've done given them both. They've got your credit card numbers. They've got your passcode. You've given them their passcode so you can easily log in. Soul Journey of Life. Don't ask for your address. It doesn't ask for a lot of these other little things. It asks for the essential things so you can be able to share and correspond with your friends. So you can be able to share and communicate and build with each other with the basic essentials that a social media platform has to have. Okay, nothing spooky, nothing suspicious, nothing strange, nothing out of the ordinary. Playing by the same rules. Obviously, not a big corp, not a Mark Zuckerberg or somebody like that, and don't want to be a Mark Zuckerberg. I'm Abdul Wadud, aka Wapenzi, aka Questman, aka Chaotic Calls to Ruckus. That's who I am, right? So I have to represent who I am in any work that I do. And all you have to do, you can check out some of the songs. I got songs on the website that are for sale, and with the right type of communication, I might pass a song or two on for free. But always 100. Always 100. Like the way you see me talking now, the way you see me communicating now, I've been communicating like this for years. In the masjid, this is how I'm talking now. Is how I give the khutbah. I cite some passages in the Quran. Yeah, ayyuhalladhina amanu. I cite things like that, to as part of the content of the khutbah. But this is how I am. This is me. This is the real me. How you see me dressed. I always got my turban. I always got my imam. I grow my beard. When I can, when I'm not working, because when I'm a repair person. I'm an IT repair. When I'm not fixing stuff, I'm wearing my plaid shirts and whatnot that I use as my IT gear. I'm wearing my thawb, my kameez, my robe, but not because of the things that many people think these things are tied to, but a lot of it's for a sake of spiritual simplicity. Because I don't, you don't see any Nike signs on me. You don't see whatever popular things, FUBU or whatever. I don't know what's going on out there now. You don't see none of that. It's just a garb, just a garb. I'm just this guy, just this dude, this man, black man, and that's the part that matters to me. That does weigh big on the scale. But what that means when I'm saying this black man, I'm talking about somebody ancestral. I'm talking about somebody that goes far back when we were noble, when we were able to identify with a sense of royalty, of elite status. Those seeds, those jewels passed down into me. I carry them on and strive to lift them up. I support those who strive for that cause. There's an old saying that if a person dies with not even a hint of a desire of striving for what's right, they die in a form of hypocrisy. So this leads me to, finally, I'm gonna say this like this. This leads me to why I support the efforts of Brother Grandmaster Jay. Like I said, I did the shakedown, the mental shakedown that I do when I meet anybody. Who are you? I do that in my own inner being. It's not the same type of shakedown that people who don't really have the tools of evaluation do. It's seeing the signs in people. It's seeing the spiritual motivation that people have. That and the type of people that are gravitating towards said inspirational persons. Like when you looked at Malcolm X, you looked at the type of people that surround him, and the people that, or to this day, look at the people who were mostly influenced by Malcolm X. Look at the impact that Malcolm X had on people today. Look at the type of impact that Brother Grandmaster Jay has had, and then look at the things he's been doing. I mean, yeah, there's differences of belief and things like that, but there's not really. I don't even want to say that, because a lot of it is just semantics to me, different wording or different methodologies, some different aims of historical moments and things like that. But all the ingredients are there. They're all there, and the ultimate objective is there. And so here is an aim for a situation that's a condition that's been ongoing for over 400,000 years. This is something that all of us should be rising up about. So that an individual rise up about it, of course I'm a supporter. Of course I'm a support whoever is rising up for the cause or for the sake of this condition that we've been in for the past 400 plus years. It only makes sense. Why would you sit on your hands? Like I said to one person, your ancestors, many of them that were brought over here that were enslaved, they didn't accept it willingly. They resisted. There was all kinds of rebellions that were going on from here to Haiti to the Brazil. All these, there was all kinds of rebellions that were taking place. Nobody was taking this on the chin. Nobody was taking this with ease. Nobody was saying, "Oh, okay, we'll just accept." No, they. There was a lot of beat down, beat down, beat down before a lot of the pacified people started to show up. So I'm asking, if my parents, if my ancestral parents died with the mentality that I don't want to be here, or I don't want this type of life, I don't want to live in these conditions. Why would me, their descendant, just say, "Oh, okay, well, we're just going to live and integrate and just get along and sit here like nothing ever happened"? Wouldn't that be a dishonor to our ancestral family members? So yeah, when somebody rises up, when a body of strong people, brave people, courageous people, and if they see you're courageous people, courageous brother, of course they get my support. Yeah, I say our because I'm a family. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a son. So of course they get my support. And of course I'm going to speak in a way that will always be in league, or hopefully inspiring other people to be on the same page. So yeah, with that said, this was me taking you on a journey of the origin of soul journey of life. And I hope that something out of this you extracted was a benefit, and you find useful and helpful and inspiring. Um, I'll try to keep this recorded or whatever, so that way if you can review it, whatever. Maybe there's something that there's jewels that people take from just the most minute things. We benefit each other like that. You'd be surprised at how you say one thing that could change another person's life, all for the better. So yeah, I want to say this, for those that the naysayers, for the naysayers about Brother Grandmaster Jay. What kind of person were you looking for when it comes to like leaders of the Black nation? Were you looking for like some type of um, I don't know, like somebody that's talking with perfect English? Like, yes, I've come to help you out. I'm here to help the Black people. Is that the kind of person you were looking for? You see a brother, that obviously you see he has the experience of the older generation, what we call the old school era. When we speak in hip hop terms, we say that's the old school era. Is that what you? So when a person like this shows up, there's got to be um, something amiss with that. See, many of you don't know that in society we all operate in a way that helps us to get through our daily doings. For example, I can guarantee that when you're with your mother, you talk differently than when you're with your friends. You don't talk the same way to your mother, with your mother, or in the presence of your mother, that you do with your friends. And when you're at work, especially those of you, going to like some of these, businesses or offices or whatnot, I can guarantee you that you're talking differently there. So in each scenario, there's a different flow that you go with. You know, Brother Grandmaster Jazz, he was involved in politics. So he had the lingo that was suitable for politics. You understand? That, I mean, it would only make sense when you're trying to get votes from a vast audience, a diverse crowd of people. You got to talk in a way that's diverse. I know this as an email. I know that when I'm going giving these khutbas, I've got people of different ages, young and old, people from different backgrounds sitting right in front of me. So I can't just say anything anyway. I can't just like, hey, yo, today, feasibility, we're going to do like this. I can't do that. I've got to be able to speak in a way that the people who are experienced feel like I'm talking to them. The people who are new that don't know, what's being talked about, they feel like I'm talking to them. The people who came for, question, whatever, whatever the reason, I got to be able to communicate with this diverse audience. So what do you expect that a person who's trying to run for a political office, how do you expect them to communicate? They're not going to bring their home style to a political platform. So you got to see through all that you got to see that and see that this is being strategic. This is called being strategic. And like I said, the brother is a very, very intelligent brother, very strategic. And this is the reason why he's in the predicament he's in now, because the adversary recognizes that this brother is very strategic, very intelligent. And what they're hoping is to break this situation up by demoralizing us, demoralizing the supporters, the allies, the people who are in agreement with the cause that the brother is striving for. They want to be able to break all this down. They want to be able to demoralize the strong brothers and sisters in the NFAC. They don't want nobody. They don't want this to happen. They want us to be pacified in every step of the way. They want us to not pacified. They want us to be passive in every step of the way. They don't want brave black women and men. They don't want the masculinity in men to return, or the true femininity in women to return. They want to be able to control the status quo as it is, because this is easier for them to be able to manage and manipulate. Anyway, that's another topic for another day, another time, another place. Inshallah. I want to simply say that for those that listen to this, thank you for your patience and time. I want to say, we are all we need. All that we need is with us. All that we need to be successful is with us. So I'm going to quote the honorable brother, Grandmaster Jay, just be black. Just be black. So, peace be with you. Salam alaikum. Hotep. Shalom. In terms of peace, the meaning of peace, in whatever formula that you are familiar with. Be blessed and have a wonderful rest of your night.